Ben, if you keep looking for Rabbi Belenky, who's about to join. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We know the situation in Ukraine is constantly changing, and the people who are joining us are literally, they're coming in as their opportunity avails themselves. I'm first going to read out. We have firstly different people who are joining in, including Rabbi Belenky, who is the Chabad rabbi of Moldova, and he is in charge of different refugees who come over to his Chabad house. He's been having literally hundreds of people coming daily, and he looks after them. And so he's going to be probably our first speaker. He's just dealing with the bus that has just arrived with the latest group of refugees. We also were due to have Jeremy Myers, and he is right now landing in the UK. He was just given a visa for his close friend who he managed to go out with from Kiev to Lviv and then to Poland. And if he doesn't join us briefly, I'm going to read his account of what occurred to them by the border of Poland. One of the very moving accounts has been by the teenagers from King David, and we have one of our teenagers who went with King David on their Poland trip, and they then went to help one of the centers in Poland to be able to give things for the people in Ukraine. And I'm just going to read from Emily Bauer. Emily Bauer is one of our members, and this is her account. The first thing you notice is the Ukrainian and Polish flags above the door. There are men outside unloading a truck full of toilet paper, duvet covers, and nappies. I watched a woman in a car get directed into a parking space. The car appeared to be full of bags of clothing. Inside it is quiet. Piles and piles of supplies are against the wall, toiletries and clothes mainly. There are some toys and bedding too. A path has been carried out to allow people to bring in the constant stream of filled plastic bags. At the back of the room, there are bunk beds stacked very close together. They are filled with children, 6 per bunk. There are far more children in the room than adults. During dinner, our tour guide had told everyone about the community center and the refugees. Everyone had filed past him at the door, handing over notes and coins. He now gives the stash of money to the leader of the community center before we leave. I notice, I think Rabbi Belenky has joined us. Belenky, if just put your hand up, and you're our and also make him the co-host. Rachamin Belenky. Okay. Just asking you to unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself, please? Rabbi Belenky, Rachamin Belenky. Can we make sure he unmutes? Rachamin has to unmute.
Hello?
Hi, yes. Hello, Rabbi Belenky.
Hi. Hi.
So with us tonight, we have Rabbi Belenky, the Chabad rabbi of Moldova. You can see the people coming in just right now. Can you describe to us what's happening?
Yes. We just have received surprisingly, because we have on the way 150 people that we're waiting, surprised to 22 people, elderly in very bad conditions, most of them even from Kiev, and they came with dogs. I sent a few videos already while we were receiving these guests, and they had to pass the border with the snow and something unreal. And we, Baruch Hashem, found places for them. In Kishinev now, there is no even one bed available. All the refugees going to the center when they getting mattresses on the floors with many people in a big place. And Baruch Hashem, we trying to get the Eden to have beds and give them free clean sheets. We haven't been ready because it was a surprise, and the rooms haven't been cleaned since people left today. Yeah. And all these people,
Shalom.
How many refugees arrive to you daily?
Daily, it's coming and going, and every day it's changing. It's changing every day. For example, the first day at Erev Shabbos, we received surprisingly only. We went the whole day. The whole Friday, we're trying to find a place, and finally, Baruch Hashem found the place. The Eibishter found the place, Mama's neck to my shul, and we made with 50 families from Uman. I probably sent a lot of videos of that. With 50 children, Mamash, we had a great Shabbos with my Israeli students, and we have Israeli students that are helping us to cook, and they help them to bring the suitcases and everything. We have our army, everybody are shluchim. Every refugee is coming. If he's young, I give him food, and I ask him to be a shliach also to help the other coming in next 5 minutes. And Baruch Hashem, we able to help people when everybody sending me now. And somebody told me, these people told me, came surprisingly, that they have friends on another trip.
Sorry, just been muted. Asked to unmute.
Noticed because they know that I'm gonna day and night we're gonna find them, and today we get friends from Odessa, from Kilas at Tikva that came 6 o'clock, and we went to sleep 4 o'clock. So this is how our day schedule goes.
And how are the costs? What are the costs? Your daily costs? How?
I have to tell you. I have to now. I organize the buses because the border goes like we have buses going to the.
Yeah. I'm going to ask. Okay, we have Rabbi Bleich with us. I'm just going to ask to Rabbi Bleich to unmute. Hello, Rabbi Bleich. So
hello.
If Rachamim, if you look after the refugees, keep that camera on so people will still be able to see what's happening. And to everyone, we have put the charities on the chat that people can donate. It's an honor and privilege for us to have also Rabbi Bleich, the Chief Rabbi of Ukraine and Kiev, with us tonight. I know that we've been involved in Rabbi Bleich's charity to ensure that people are able to go out of Kiev to refugee camps to the west of the country, and I'm part of a group where we see literally nearly hour by hour, minute by minute, what's happening. If I can share with Rabbi Bleich's permission the figures of what's just recently, what he's achieved in the last few days. So, so far, 950 people have been evacuated from Kiev and other towns and cities in Ukraine. 15 buses and dozens of cars has transported these evacuations. 95 refugees currently in the Premishlan refugee camp, 75 refugees currently in the Yampil refugee camp, 90 refugees currently in the Belz refugee camp, 100 residents and staff at the assisted living home in Kiev, 10 armed guards hired, 450 to 500 meals being served each day. Numerous refugees have already left their refugee camps and are now over the border. Every single person that Rabbi Bleich has looked after and ensured their safety costs between $400 to $600, a huge, huge figure. What can we do to help, Rabbi Bleich?
Well, let me just clarify. First of all, what the number that you mentioned that it cost is only for the evacuation.
Yeah.
It's not for the maintenance of the camps that we have. But just to get a person out from under the shooting, we have to get them. We got today we had 2 buses from Kiev. Yesterday we had 2 buses from Kiev and 2 buses from Cherkasy and 1 bus from Uman. The day before we had around 4 buses from Kiev and 2 buses from Uman. And every bus that goes, because we have that goes along with a military escort. So we have cars of people that want to get away. They come and join the escort so that they can get out of the city and onto the highway safely. That's very, very important to understand. Number one. Number two, when we started this this whole let's say event and issue, we planned and invested a lot of money in a refugee camp outside of Kiev, 100 miles west of Kiev, thinking that Putin would never attack in the way that he did attack with ground forces from 6 different places at once. Unfortunately, the headquarters of the Russian army and their incursion into Ukraine is the Chernobyl power plant. It's famous because it blew up, which is on the Pripyat River, and the Pripyat River borders with Belarus. So from Belarus, he brought his people into Chernobyl, and from there he sends the soldiers in towards Kiev. The road from Chernobyl into Kiev goes through Ivankiv, and that is approximately 2 kilometers away from our camp that we set up, the refugee camp. So when we finally got our first group out, which was on Thursday, when the shooting had already started, the war had begun, we didn't understand that on Friday we will have to evacuate that camp. And sure enough, before Shabbos, we decided we have to evacuate. We got everybody on the buses. We were about to leave when sudden fighting and bombs from all sides around the camp started fighting. Everybody ran out of the buses and ran back into the shelters. Eventually, they came out, made Kiddush, had the meal. In the meantime, I was on the phone with the leaders there, and we decided that we're going to go to Western Ukraine, to Premishlan. That was our first stop. Shabbos morning, and there was no GPS because they shut the GPS service, so the Russians can't use it. So Friday night, after I finished davening, Kabbalah Shabbos, I opened my GPS and my Google Maps in the United States where I am, where I had run to, and I sat with the driver of the bus, telling him through which towns he should go to stay away from any problems or possibility of bombs and shootings. Eventually, they left Shabbos morning, and they went to Premishlan. I figured out at that point, I was looking for one big place that I can make a refugee camp where people can come, stay for a day, 2, 3, a week, or a month, and then move on. If they're ready after a day or a week, whenever it is they're ready, they can move on. I couldn't find a big place, but Premishlan, which was built for Chassidim that come to the Rebbe Meir Premishlan's caver, he gave me away his place. He said, use it. I then called the fellow in Belz and the fellow in Yampil, which is the same idea. And that's how I was able to get these places. They all gave it away for free. Use it, do whatever you want. We brought the people in there. However, we have to have food. We have to have cooks. We have to have mashgichim. We have to have the place staffed. And in time of war, it's very, very difficult. But Baruch Hashem, we're doing it. So we have these 250, 260 people, which are rotating, which means people can come. And the next day, we'll take them to the border while another bus comes out of Kiev and fills up that camp and this camp for the other camp. So that's what we're busy doing during during the day and the night. And Baruch Hashem, we're able to save lives. And we look at it and we say, we all heard the stories of what happened during World War II, when people didn't have the opportunities we have today. They didn't have WhatsApp, they didn't have the communications, they didn't have the money. The wealth that the Jewish community has throughout the world today is a tremendous thing that can help save lives. For money, you can save lives. And that's why we're able to, for money, we broke down the barrier. And this is an unbelievable thing. Today, I only heard it from the fellow who runs one of the biggest transportation companies in Ukraine. He told me, Rabbi, you broke the barrier. I said, what are you talking about? So what happened was on Sunday, I was sitting and trying to think, how can I get buses to get the people out? I need buses, and whoever I call said there are no buses. No driver is leaving his home. They're all going to be with their families. And if they are, then they're at the war fighting. Bottom of the line, I told him, I said, do me a favor. I called this fellow who has this massive transportation company. I said, what will it cost me for a bus? He says, nobody's going. I said, everything has a price. I said, let me borrow a line from World War II. I said, let's pay the drivers per head. Each person they get out from under the shooting, from one of the cities that's under attack, we'll pay them a premium. Tell me what we have to pay them. And that's what we're doing. We're paying. And on Monday, I put out $100,000 and I saved hundreds of Jews that way. And on Tuesday, I put out $85,000 and I saved hundreds of Jews that way. And this is what we're doing. Every bus has a military escort, which costs money. They have security guards, which cost money. And the bus itself costs money. And that's why it costs us from $400 to $600 for every person we save. But that's not a price for your life. A life is of course, is priceless. This is basically, and I'm sure the same story that I'm telling is being told in other places. And I'm looking at the videos of how they're accepting Jews in different places throughout Europe. It's unbelievable. But Klal Yisrael is standing up to it, and they're reacting to it in a way that we couldn't do earlier. However, there are still issues. I have right now, as we speak, a group of 30 refugees at the border. They are there since 5 p.m. Kiev time, and it's now almost 10 o'clock, and they still have not gone through the border in freezing weather. This is women with children, men, women, and children, elderly people. The ones that are really old, they take them through. The little babies, they take through. But 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old kids, 10-year-old kids are out there. And this is something that's really, really, really bad. It's a humanitarian crisis. People to stand 5 hours in the freezing, freezing, freezing cold outdoors. It's -5 now there. And this is something I think that that has to be dealt with. You have to understand this. People have left everything they own behind. Run away with a bag, run away with a suitcase. I had a kid call me, a student of mine, that ran away he got over the border. He calls me, he says, Rabbi, I'm over the border. I need money. They say, what's going on? I just gave you money before you left. I transferred the money. He says, Rabbi, you can't imagine. My parents are in Germany. They went there because his father needed an operation. And I couldn't call them before I left the house. I just called them when I crossed the border. And my father told me that all the money is left back in the house in Kiev. Everything they have, everything they saved up, everything they own is gone. This kid was penniless. He couldn't make it from Warsaw to Berlin. He needed money for a train. And obviously I sent him the money for the train. And I hopefully he'll get home and he'll get, and this, whatever it is. But this is what it's war. This is real war. This isn't, it's not a joke. And it's not what some people are trying to say, oh, what's happening? The Russians, okay, the Ukrainians, it's not it. There are 350,000 Jews in danger now in Ukraine. I just got a call from someone in Mariupol, a city that's surrounded by the Russian soldiers. They have no way to get out. I got calls from people in Kharkiv that's being bombed as we speak. A bomb fell just an hour ago near the train station in Kiev, where there are thousands of refugees that are trying to get out. Right down the block, a bomb just fell now in the city of Kiev. This is a war not against the Ukrainian army. It's a war against the people of Ukraine. And as I said, including this 350 or 60,000 Jews that live there. So I think that what the world has to do, first of all, daven, doirin tefillah milchama. We have to daven. We have to give doirin, which is money as much as we can to support the organizations whose names are up here on the right, on the screen. Anyone that donates money for Hatzalas Nefashos to save a Jewish life, or to save any life, is as if he saved the entire world. And the third thing is,
Sorry, you just cut out the third thing. Okay. We're just asking also Rachamim, if you unmute, whilst Rabbi Bleich will try and come back on. Rachamim, if you can just share with us what's been happening.
Yes. Hi. What's happening? We are giving food. We are giving now food to the people who came. We managed to organize additionally to the 200 portions, now 22 portions immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And we're making more food because there's no one knows how much food we need more for these guys, and got nice clean rooms. And I'm looking for my guys with the food.
Okay. What's given you the most encouragement during this period?
Who delivers the food?
Yes.
Because there are so many rooms, and Baruch Hashem, all these guys came to the elderly one, the wheelchair. We organized the hotel. Tomorrow, we will find for them, Mr. Hashem, a place with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah. We can't see you, but we can hear you. Yes, we can see you.
We'll try to find. We're trying to find for them a hotel for special needs.
Okay. Okay.
סורי. איפה הראל שנותן את האוכל? חברים, מישהו ראה איפה הבחור שנותן את האוכל, הראל? איפה? עלה למעלה. אוקיי. איפה? אוקיי. Here we have people who are staying here. Here my guy who is delivering the food. Harel is my assistant. He's a student, Israeli student, medical student, and he is my best assistant. And all the students here, Israeli students that I make care of them for the last 20 years, they became soldiers here. Some people who came before from Uman, they have kids. This is another people that came a few days ago, and they're still staying. They have good conditions. It's warm. The biggest problem, it's cold here. It's minus. It's not too cold. Okay, it's not too cold. We'll just follow Harel with the food. The thing is that, it's very cold now, and people I'm hearing from many people, even Goim, they asking me to find them a hot place. Here, 2 people from Belarus. He said, Belarus?
They're not here in the moment.
From where are they here?
I think they're from Russia. They have 2 kids in Belarus, something like this.
But they came from?
Ukraine.
Okay. We have
at the moment.
Yeah. It's amazing the facilities, what you've been able to achieve. And obviously it costs immense amount of money. So please, whoever can give, please give. The thing is, it's very, very cold. And with the biggest effort to support those Eden, warm place. Yeah.
It's very warm. And it's because people getting in cold place, it's very hard, minus, and no heating, because it's poor country, many buildings. Not because this is a government building. It heated properly. It's very, very warm. It's a nice place and has everything. And we try to get each Eid a bed. Sometimes with a family, we give them even a whole room for the children to enjoy. My purpose to the people that had such a trauma, to give them better food that we have in Shabbos. I give them everyday salmon. I try to make them a little bit happier. This is my crazy thing, to make them happy and say L'chaim on Shabbos and sing and to forget all. I sent them to the zoo with the families to enjoy, because I think that in Egypt, Yetziat Mitzrayim, he gave us a shadow, a cell. That's why we celebrate Sukkot, because the Eibusher want to give us good conditions like sons. So we have to give those people not good, the best conditions we can supply.
Thank you. If you keep showing, you mute yourselves, keep your camera on. I'm going to ask Rabbi Bleich to continue his message before he got cut off. Rabbi Bleich said the third message.
I said the third message I was speaking about was the fact that I think that it behooves all of us to speak out to our elected officials that they should do what they can to stop the war. And it's not enough to just make statements. And as we come to Purim, we are reminded of the pasuk in Megillas Esther, Ki im hacharesh tacharishi ba'es hazois, revach va'atzola yamed liYehuda mimokam acher, va'ato ve'savich toivedu. Mordechai tells Esther, who was fortunate or unfortunate, was put into a situation where she was able to speak to the king directly. And she questioned whether she should do it and put her life in danger to save the Jewish people or not. And she seemingly had every reason to say, no, I can't do it. My life will be in danger. And Mordechai said, no, that this is the reason why you got where you got. And God will never judge us for opportunities we didn't have. But we will only be judged and always be judged for opportunities we had and did not use. And if we are quiet, it's a very interesting thing. Mordechai tells Esther, if you will be quiet, you and your entire family will be wiped out. How did he know to tell her that? Why will they be wiped out? Why should they be wiped out? However, we see that the judgment of someone who has the opportunity to help the Jewish people and doesn't do what he could do or she could do, this is what it is. This is what happens. So I think that's the most important thing for all of us at this point to know. Deirin tefillah milchama. Deirin, let's give money for tzedakah. Tefillah, we should daven as much as we can to the one who's the Baal milchamais that controls all the wars, and milchama, that we should try and fight to get this war stopped and not sit back and just allow people to make statements about never again and make statements that, oh, you know, what we could have, should have, or would have done. We have to get out there and do something. And I think that one of the most symbolic things that happened throughout this war was that yesterday, the Babin Yar was bombed. Babin Yar is a symbol of the Holocaust. It's a symbol of when the world stood silent, when millions of Jews were being murdered. And that is what was attacked yesterday. I have an assisted living home in Kiev for Holocaust survivors. And one of the women in the assisted living home who lived through the Holocaust said, God gave me life to live through 2 wars. Like one wasn't enough. She said that when they bombed Babi Yar yesterday, she thought it was a wake-up call for all those dead bodies from Babi Yar to get up and help us in this fight to stop this war and to stop the bloodshed, which is, I think, the most important thing now. The Ukrainians never said they want to wipe out the Russians. They said that they want the Russians to stop fighting with them. Indeed, the president of Ukraine called me this week and asked me if the Jewish people can please pray for the success of Ukraine. He says, we have less soldiers than they have, but we have dedication and we need God on our side. We need God to help us. And I think this is important. Yesterday, the president of Ukraine made an appeal to the Jews of the world. He speaks a number of times a day during the war. He made an appeal to the Jews of the world. He said, look what's happening. He said, Babin Yar was bombed and Uman was bombed. Uman is the place that attracts the most tourists of anything in Ukraine. And those tourists are Jewish people coming to pray at the grave of Rabbi Nachman. At the beginning of the war, Uman was bombed. And now Babi Yar was bombed. Wake up. This is what he said. Wake up, Jews of the world, wake up, and don't be silent when millions of lives are at stake now, God forbid. That's the only message that I can give. And thanks and a shout out to everyone, including the rabbi and including the whole team that's working with Nassan and Yechiel and everybody else and in UK to help us raise money to save lives in Ukraine. And thank you to all of the Jews, and thank you to all of the Askanim in every place that are working to save the Jews, to get them out of Ukraine, taking in the refugees, giving them quarters, let them feel like they're part of Am Yisrael, like they're our brothers, our sisters, our cousins that are coming home. And let's imagine Nebuch what they lost and what we can give them, the warmth that we can give them, how far it can go.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Yaakov. I know constantly you get phone calls every moment of the day, life or death, and to spare with us your time is so immense. It means so much. It gives us the strength, and that Bezrat Hashem, our hearts should be opened and to be able to give, pray, give to the charities, to help, support, and listen to your words of inspiration. Thank you, Rabbi Yaakov. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. We still have with us Rachamim. If you can unmute yourself, we also have with us Joel Wasserman, and I'm going to introduce him as well. Joel is one of the, I think, a social worker, or is a close friend of Jeremy Myers, and he managed to escape from Kiev to Lviv. And as Jeremy, as we speak, is waiting in the immigration queue, he just texted me just now. Hopefully he'll get on, we'll see. But if you can just share some of your story, and at the same time, we'll have Angelina, Schlaufmann, Edelstein. If you can just, you are a co-host, if she can be pinned or highlighted and share some of her experiences. Hi, Joel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Wasserman. I'm an American Jew who has lived in Ukraine for 4 years, almost all of that time in Kiev, but approximately 1 month ago, the situation looked serious enough that I thought it was time to make my way out of Kiev, and I was able to do that in a far more relaxed way than the thousands upon thousands of people who have left the city over the past week. I was able to take my things. I was able to take my cat. I was able to provide a place for my loved ones. So many other people are not so lucky. I came over here to do tzedakah, to do a little bit of tikkun olam, to teach English to soldiers who had returned from the war. I've been doing that work for about 4 years. Otherwise, I'm not a social worker. I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy who decided to stay here and do every mitzvah that he could, because I thought there was a strong possibility something like this could happen, and I wanted to stay to make sure that I could protect the people that I love, that I could protect this little rascal right here, and so that I could do everything I could to help the people of Ukraine with my experience in this country, with my language skills, and with my own 2 hands.
Thank you. If there's anything for us over here, is there any way we can help from what you can see? I know there's different.
As a mere individual, I can do things like provide a hot meal. I can do things like let somebody stay the night. I have someone with me right now, who's who's very conscientiously, trying to be inconspicuous.
Mm-hmm.
I as an individual, I feel I'm doing what I can, but I feel somewhat powerless. And so I would encourage you to invest the resources that you have in the hands of people who can use those resources effectively and efficiently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm honored to have been able to speak, to have been able to follow Rabbi Bleich. I urge you to support his efforts. I urge you to support the efforts of the Joint Distribution Committee, of the Red Cross, particularly the Red Cross organizations of Ukraine, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland, and Romania and Moldova, because these are the countries that border Ukraine and Ukraine itself, of course. I urge you to contact your representatives in government and urge them to make sure that Ukrainians have a place to go. It is neither fair nor sustainable that the countries bordering Ukraine take upon themselves all of the burden of this refugee crisis. The rest of the world must help. I was at the train station in Lviv yesterday. The situation was very bustling, but under control. The Ukrainian people have done this before. The Ukrainian Jewish community has done this before, but unfortunately at that point, there were safe places in Ukraine to go. People could go to Kiev, people could go to Lviv, people could go to Uman, people could go to Dnipro. That's not the case right now. The western part of the country where I am is safe, and hopefully will remain so well into the future. Many places from Kiev east and Zhytomyr east, they're just simply not safe right now, and people need to leave. I urge you to contact your representatives in government to make sure these people have a place to go. I urge you to devote whatever resources you can to these relief efforts. If you have the opportunity to directly support someone, to provide them with a meal or a roof over their heads, I encourage you to do that. I encourage you not to forget about this crisis once the news crews pack up, because we are in the beginning of this crisis. Once the humanitarian corridors to Kiev and Kharkiv are able to open, people will come flooding out, and Lviv will become a very different city. I was at the I joined the Chabad rabbi, Rabbi Gottlieb, in Lviv for Shabbos dinner. At that point, this was just last Friday, they had not had people coming yet. Everyone was going straight for the border. That is likely to change. So I encourage you to reach out to Chabad or Jewish organizations in cities like Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Uzhhorod, Ternopil, because these are places that are likely to remain safe for the time being. And I encourage you to offer what support you can to those places and to those organizations. If you have the ability to come volunteer, especially if you have language skills, it would be very much appreciated. I urge you to do some research into where you can most effectively do that, so that you come and are as much help and as little hindrance as possible. The people of Ukraine are thankful for your solidarity. They are thankful for your charity, and they will need it now and long into the future. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak.
Thank you, Joel. We're so touched that you're with us. I'm going to ask Angelina Edelstein Schlaufmann to share her experiences now. Angelina, some of you may know, she's married to Jacob Edelstein, the son of Jonathan Edelstein, the grandson of Beryl Edelstein. And Angelina originally has family in Ukraine, has family very high up in the government, but are also stuck in that area. Family members who, I think, the street that they live have just been wiped out or bombed, and they were very close to different explosions. But Angelina, if you can share some of your thoughts and your experiences. Thank you, Angelina.
My name is Angelina Edelstein. I'm coming from Ukraine, Kharkiv, which is now the hottest place. And there is no neighborhoods in Kharkiv that wasn't bombed. So I don't think my street is the only one. Sorry. I was born in Ukraine and lived there for 18 years, so I have extended family and friends there who share with me their everyday experience. My day starting with writing every one of them a message if they are alive. I couldn't imagine in my life such a thing. Now there is a really bad internet connection and mobile settings in there, so sometimes they cannot answer. Jewish community of Kharkiv is a rabbi is working around the clock to help every person who needs help. Jewish, not Jewish, it doesn't matter for them right now. There are going fights and battles around the city. Every hour, rockets are going into the buildings, schools, kindergartens. Today was the National University, National Theatre, and Kharkiv administration, as well as the biggest square in Europe, Square of Freedom, was bombed today. It is really, really hard and dangerous to get out of Kharkiv right now. I know that part of my family tried to do so and they succeed. So this is succeeded. They had 2 children and 2 older people, which I think made it safer. Part of my family stayed there. Some old people don't want to leave their houses. Some people just can't travel because of their age. I'm in contact with a lot of students who are volunteering for different organizations, different type of organizations, people who are receiving messages and requests for food, for water, for fuel, for generators, because electricity and heating system isn't working. There are people who are helping territory guard as well.
So, look,
I want to say as well that I'm supporting every word said by Joel, that this is only the start of the crisis. Unfortunately, this situation is with us for a while, and we should do everything what we can to support and help Ukrainian people and the Jewish community around the Ukraine.
thank you, Angelina. Thank you. I know there's different volunteers that Angelina's involved or connected with, and with Red Cross, and with a different there's different bank transfers that we'll be sending out after this to the shuls, and again the other synagogues, if they can also share the different details, we'll be putting them on. And whatever people can give to help is literally saving lives. That's what it's like. We're going to now, thank you, Angelina. We're going to now say a few chapters of Tehillim together, and I'm going to ask my colleagues, Rabbi Binstock and Rabbi Lewis, to lead with the Tehillim. And Rabbi David, if you can also share the screen with the Tehillim.
With the 3 Tehillim that we've got, we'll be first of all Psalm 20. We'll then do 121 and 130. We'll start off together. We'll say them line by line. The English next. You can everybody. Rabbi Elitov, can you see the screen with the Tehillim?
Yes, yeah.
So we'll start with that. Rabbi Binster, would you like to do the first Tehillim? Start off with this here, this one, Lam Natzech.
Lamnatseach Mizmor LeDavid.
Lam Natzech.
Myself as well, David.
Ya'ancha Adonai b'yom tzara. Yisagev Hashem Eloi Yaakov.
Yancha Adonai b'yom tzara, Yesagev Hashem Elohei Yaakov.
Yishlach Ezrecha mikodesh umitzion yisadeka.
Yishlach Ezracha mikodesh umitzion yisadeka.
Yizkar kol minchasecha v'olascha yedashne selah.
Yizkor kol minchotecha ve'oladcha yedashene selah.
Yitein lecha chilvavecha v'chol atzasecha yemalei.
Yiten lecha chilvavecha v'chol atzadcha yemale.
Neranena b'shuasecha v'shem Eloheinu nidgal yemalei Adonai kol mishalosecha.
Neranena bishuatecha uvshem Elohenu nitgol yemale Adonai kol mishalotecha.
Ata yodati ki hoshia Adonai mishichai yanehu mishmei kodshai uviros yesha yaminahai.
Ata yadati ki Yoshia Adonai meshicho ya'anehu mishmei kodsho bigvurot yesha yamino.
Eile v'rechev ve'eile v'asusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir.
Ele vareche ve'ele vasusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir.
Hema karu v'nafalu v'anachnu kamnu v'nisaydad.
Hema karu v'nafalu v'anachnu kamnu v'nitodad.
Adonai Hoshia Hamelech Ya'anenu v'yom kareinu.
Adonai Hoshia HaMelech Ya'anenu v'yom koreinu.
Our Lord save us. May the King answer us on the day we call. We'll now continue with Psalm 121. Shila Malat Esanai, Rabbi Amir.
Shir Lamalot Esa Enai El Heharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri.
Shir lamalos esoinai el heharim me'ayin yavo Ezri.
Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim Ba'aretz.
Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz.
Al Yitel Lamot Raglecha Al Yanum Shomrecha.
Al yitein lamot raglecha al yanam shomrecha.
Hine Lo Yanum Ve'lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael.
Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomeh Yisrael.
Adonai Shomrecha Adonai Tzilcha Al Yad Yeminecha.
Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha.
Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yakeka Ve'yareach Balayla.
Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach b'layla.
Adonai Yishmorcha Mikol Ra Yishmor Et Nafshecha.
Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmar es nafshecha.
Adonai Yishmor Tzetcha Voecha Be'ata Be'adolah.
Adonai yishmar tzeischa v'echa meyataf yadoi laha.
As the last verse says there, may Hashem guard their going out, but also just as importantly, they're coming back in from now to eternity. And those who have had to flee, well, as we were told by Rabbi Bleich, they'll be coming back home, Bezrat Hashem, soon. We'll now continue with the third one. Sorry, third one here. Shir Hamalos. Shir Hamalos Mimamakim Karasi Chadinai.
Shir Hamalot Mimamakim Karticha
Adonai.
Adonai Shima V'Kaili Tiena Aznecha Kashuves Lekal Tachanunai.
Adonai Shema Bekoli Tiena Oznecha Kashuvot Lekol Tachanunai.
Im Avinais Tishmeria Adonai miyamawayim.
Im Adonai Tishmoya, Adonai Miyamod.
Imecha haselicha lema'am tivarei.
Ki Imecha Selicha Lema'an Tivarei.
Visi Adonai kibasa nafshi v'lidvarei heichalti.
Kiviti Adonai Kivta Nafshi, Velidvara Achalti.
Nafshi ladinai mi shoymrim labayker, shoymrim labayker.
Nafshi Ladonai Mishomrim Laboker, Shomrim Laboker.
Yachel Yisrael el Adonai ki im Adonai hachesed v'harbei imay fedus.
Yachel Yisrael El Adonai, Kim Adonai Yachesed, Veharbe Imo Fedu.
Who yifta es Yisrael Mikael avay neisav.
Veho Yifte Et Yisrael, Mikol Avonotav.
So before we continue with Achenu Kobet Yisrael, the song we'll sing together, just nothing's by coincidence, but I happened a couple of weeks ago, I started reading again Elie Wiesel's Jews of Silence, from when he went off to Behind the Iron Curtain, as he was back then in 1965. And what's interesting is, 56, is that when we think of the Jews of Silence, most of them think it was the Jews behind the Iron Curtain. When I was reading it again, it struck me that maybe the Jews of silence he was speaking to were those of us on this side of the Iron Curtain. Where were our voices? We've just said in the Tehillim that we ask the Almighty to hear our voice, that we've got to make sure that we don't become the Jews of silence, that the world hears our voice, that not just the hundreds that joined us today, but that we make sure that our voice goes out as we've been asked to speak to our representatives, to make sure that they hear, because what gives our friends, our brothers and sisters, and in fact, all of the people of Ukraine, the courage is a knowledge that they know that there is a voice that is heard. It's our voice that they hear, our voice crying out to help them. We'll now share the screen of Achenu Kobet Yisrael. Rabbi Binstock, Rabbi Mir, you'll join in, we'll sing it. When I say join in, I'm going to let you go a little bit louder than me. So I'm going to put up Achenu Kobet Yisrael, which is this one over here. We have it, we've specifically put it with the transliteration on the left as well, and then the English underneath. Rabbi Stroll, would you like to, with both of you, the nice voices, to lead us in Achenu, please?
Achenu, Kol Beis Yisrael. Achenu, Kol Beis Yisrael. Hanesunim Vatsara Uvashivya Oimdim Vayam Vayam Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. Hanesunim Vatsara Uvashivya Oimdim Vayam Vayam Amahakay Yerachim Aleihem Yotziei Mitzrayim Lirvacha U'meyafei Aleyara Umishimod Geula Ashtabahara Uvizman Kariv Amahakayim Yerachim Aleihem Yotziei Mitzrayim. Lirvacha U'meyafeira U'mishivon ligeula Ashta Bahagala U'mitzmakarim.
As for our brothers, the whole house of Israel were given over to trouble or captivity, whether they abide in the sea or on the dry land. May Hashem, the all-present, have mercy upon them. Bring them forth from trouble to enlargement, from darkness to light, from subjection to redemption, now, speedily, and in a very near time. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining, and also thank you to Ben Whiteman for manning the security, the acceptance of people in. We are fortunate that our event this evening wasn't hacked in as other events have been, but please God, whoever can give to whichever charities, please do so. It is saving lives. It's an opportunity that we have, and an opportunity that we shouldn't miss. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.